The galaxy had never been truly silent, but now it held its breath. For decades, whispers had circulated through trading hubs and council chambers, rumors of an ancient enemy, one thought long gone, resurfacing in the farthest reaches of known space. No one took them seriously, or at least no one dared admit the fear they inspired. Until the declaration came. The message was broadcast across all known communication networks, a cold and unequivocal statement that shattered the uneasy. Peace. Humanity is declared an enemy of the United Galactic Alliance. It was a proclamation from the Zelthari Coalition, a ruthless confederation of species whose ambition had carved out entire star systems through force and intimidation. They had long regarded humanity as insignificant, a relic of a forgotten war, but now they issued a formal declaration of war. The weight of their message rippled through the cosmos like a thunderclap. At the Galactic Council on Trinax Prime, representatives of countless worlds gathered in stunned silence. The halls, usually filled with polite debate and diplomatic posturing, were now suffused with tension. Ambassador Leora Vesh of the Andari Union stood to speak, her voice steady but laced with concern. This declaration is unprecedented in its boldness. The Zelthari have chosen to ignite a war that could consume us all. What is humanity's response? Across the chamber, the eyes of countless species turned to the great star map, where Earth's position was marked. For years, humanity had been quiet, withdrawn from galactic affairs after the Great Wars centuries ago. Their absence had bred myths and speculations, some claiming humanity had gone extinct. But now, something was stirring. The answer did not come immediately. Days passed, and the galaxy's various fleets readied themselves for the inevitable conflict. The trading routes grew tense, and border systems fortified their defenses. Yet Earth remained silent, their communications dark. On Earth, in a hidden command center far beneath the surface, Admiral Kalen Voss stood before a holographic display, showing the Zelthari fleet movements. His eyes were sharp, reflecting years of training and hardship. "The Coalition believes we are weak, scattered, and vulnerable," he said quietly to his officers. "They have declared us enemies, but they do not know what they have awakened." The room was filled with the hum of advanced machinery and the murmur of analysts working tirelessly. Human engineers had spent centuries perfecting technology in secret. Technology born from the ashes of past wars and the relentless spirit of survival. "We have prepared," Voss continued. "For decades, we have built not just a fleet, but a force capable of swift and decisive action. The galaxy will soon remember what humanity truly is." Meanwhile, across the stars, other species watched Earth's silence with unease. Some doubted humanity's ability to respond. Others hoped the quiet meant peace. Few realized the storm brewing just beyond the horizon. Back in the council chambers, tensions escalated. Ambassador Therix of the Krylon Dominion voiced a concern, shared by many. "If humanity chooses to fight, this war will not be a simple skirmish. It will reshape alliances, economies, and perhaps the very fabric of our galaxy." As the declaration hung like a specter over the galaxy, intelligence operatives scrambled to gather information on Earth's movements. What they found was alarming. Surge of activity in deep space, far beyond known exploration zones. Humanity's war fleet was stirring from its long slumber. At the edge of the Sol system, sleek starships powered by technologies never before seen began their silent deployment. Their hulls shimmered with energy shields that could bend light, their weapons calibrated for precision and overwhelming force. Captain Sierra Marin, commanding one of the flagship vessels, stood on the bridge, watching the stars blur as they prepared. "To move. We move as one," she said softly to her crew. "We are the storm they never expected." Across the galaxy, the first real signs of humanity's return rippled through the void. The Zelthari coalition had declared an enemy, but in doing so, they had awakened a power far beyond their reckoning. The clock was ticking. The galaxy braced itself. Humanity was coming. In the vast emptiness of space beyond the outer rim of the solar system, the silence shattered. Ships long dormant hummed to life, their systems awakening after centuries of rest. The human war fleet, hidden in deep space and cloaked by advanced stealth technology, began to stir. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, sleek, agile, and armed with weapons designed to strike fast and hard. The fleet had been quietly prepared for a single purpose: to defend humanity and to remind the galaxy that Earth was never truly silent. Captain Sira Marin stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, her gaze steady on the vast starfield ahead. The bridge was alive with activity as officers and crew readied for departure. Every system was checked, every weapon calibrated. "Bring the fleet to full alert," she ordered. "We move on my command." Around her, officers nodded, their faces a mixture of resolve and anticipation. This was the moment humanity had prepared for, the moment the galaxy had been waiting for, whether it knew it or not. Deep in the command center below decks, Admiral Kalen Voss reviewed tactical maps alongside his chief strategist, Commander Rin. "The Zelthari expect us to be disorganized," Kalen said, his voice low and controlled. "They've underestimated our preparation. That will be their downfall." Commander Rin nodded. "Our ships are faster, our weapons more precise. We can outmaneuver and outthink them." "But speed alone won't win this war," Kalen replied. "We need to deliver a message they can't ignore." Outside the fleet's communications array, encrypted messages were sent to allied species. It was a call not just for aid, but for unity. Many species had long viewed humanity as unpredictable, perhaps even dangerous, but now they had no choice but to reconsider. In the corridors of the Resolute, technicians worked with quiet efficiency. Energy cores hummed with power, thrusters warmed to readiness, and the shield generators pulsed with protective light. On the observation deck, Sira gazed out at the stars. The fleet behind them was a sight to behold, an armada rising from myth and memory, ready to carve its place in the galaxy's future. Suddenly, the fleet's sensors picked up a signal, a fleet movement from the Zelthari coalition, advancing toward a key human outpost. The enemy believed they held the initiative. Sira's fingers danced over the controls. "Set course for intercept. We strike first." The fleet surged forward, engines flaring to life as they leapt into faster-than-light travel. The void twisted and shimmered as ships raced through hyperspace, moving as a single lethal entity. Back on Earth, leaders watched the deployment through secure channels. Scientists, engineers, and military officials exchanged tense glances. Humanity's future hung in the balance, but the determination was unmistakable. The war fleet was not just a weapon. It was a symbol of human resilience, ingenuity, and unity. As they emerged from hyperspace near the contested system, the fleet spread out in formation, sensors sweeping for enemy signatures. The first contact was swift and brutal. Human ships, guided by experienced crews and AI-assisted precision targeting, struck at the Zelthari's vanguard with overwhelming force. Enemy vessels barely had time to react before the first wave shattered their shields. Tactical maneuvers executed with flawless coordination tore through their ranks, sending fragments of warships drifting into the void. Across the fleet, soldiers and pilots felt a surge of pride and relief. This was the culmination of centuries of preparation, proof that humanity was no longer a backwater species, but a galactic power. "Enemy defenses collapsing," Sira reported, voice steady over comms. "Maintain pressure. We end this quickly." The battle was over within moments, a lightning strike that left the Zelthari fleet shattered and disoriented. Their communications were jammed, their command structures broken. On the bridge of The resolute, Sira allowed herself a brief, satisfied smile. This is only the beginning. They declared us the enemy. Now they know the cost. As the fleet regrouped, sensors detected transmissions from other allied species, expressing shock and awe. Humanity's power was undeniable, and the galaxy would never be the same. Behind the scenes, Admiral Voss prepared the next phase, a relentless pursuit of the fleeing enemy forces, and a clear message. Humanity would defend itself with unmatched ferocity and precision. The fleet's awakening was complete. The war had begun, and humanity was ready. The galaxy had barely absorbed the shock of humanity's fleet awakening when the first strike came, and it was devastating in its precision. The Resolute led the charge as the human armada swept through the contested system, hunting for the heart of the Zelthari Coalition's forward command. Their target, the sprawling station known as Bastion Prime, a massive fortress that coordinated the enemy's fleets across this region. Captain Sira Marin stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the tactical hologram flickering before her. The enemy's defenses were formidable, layered with shields and automated turrets designed to repel even the most daring attacks. But humanity had not come to negotiate. "Deploy assault vectors Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie," Sira ordered calmly. "Begin precision strikes on communication arrays and power conduits." The fleet responded instantly. Sleek fighters darted out from the capital ships, weaving through enemy fire with practiced grace. Missile pods and energy cannons unleashed torrents of destructive force aimed not at overwhelming the station in brute force, but at surgically crippling its ability to command and control. Behind the scenes, human engineers had developed weaponry, capable of adapting mid-flight, able to bypass enemy shields by exploiting minute fluctuations and structural weaknesses. The Zelthari defenses, built to counter predictable tactics, faltered in the face of such innovation. Inside Bastion Prime, alarms blared as explosions rippled through vital systems. Enemy commanders struggled to coordinate a response, their messages garbled and delayed. Confusion spread like wildfire. From the Resolute, Sira's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus fire on the central reactor. Disable it without triggering a full meltdown." The fleet's heavy cruisers converged, pouring concentrated energy into the reactor's containment fields. The station shuddered under the assault, energy barriers flickering and failing. Outside, enemy fighters attempted desperate counterattacks, but the human fleet's superior coordination and speed turned the tide. Starfighter squadrons engaged with ruthless efficiency, protecting the capital ships and clearing paths for assault teams. Within minutes, Bastion Prime's reactor was disabled, and the station's systems fell into silence. The once imposing fortress was now a drifting husk, its crew in disarray. Across the Coalition's forces, the impact was immediate. Communication breakdowns caused fleets to halt, unsure of orders. Without Bastion Prime's coordination, their movements became erratic and vulnerable. Admiral Kalen Voss observed the strike from the Resolute's command center. "They believed our silence was weakness," he said to his staff. "Instead, we have struck at the very heart of their power and shattered it." Reports flooded in from across the fleet. Enemy command ships were isolated and destroyed. Supply lines severed. The Zelthari were unraveling faster than anyone had dared imagine. The galaxy's other powers watched the unfolding events with growing disbelief. Humans, once dismissed as a fading species, had revealed a level of military sophistication and strategic brilliance that few could match. Even the staunchest skeptics began to reconsider their stance on humanity. Back on Earth, civilians listened to news broadcasts with a mixture of pride and apprehension. The war had begun, but the speed and scale of the first strike gave hope that humanity's return was more than a desperate last stand. It was the dawn of a new era. Meanwhile, among the shattered remnants of the Zelthari fleet, panic spread. Their leaders grappled with the loss of Bastion Prime, recognizing that the war they had declared had turned into a nightmare. General Kavesh, commander of the Coalition's forces, stared at the flickering battlefield maps. "They fight like the legends say," he muttered grimly. "But legends don't die easy." As the human fleet pressed forward, hunting down fleeing enemy vessels, it was clear that this war would be swift and merciless. Captain Sierra Marin allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The galaxy had declared humanity an enemy, expecting chaos and bloodshed. Instead, they faced precision, strength, and resolve unlike anything before. The first strike was only the beginning. The echo of humanity's fleet had become a warning and a promise. The aftermath of the first strike reverberated across the Zelthari Coalition's war effort like a shockwave, but what followed was even more devastating. Without Bastion Prime's centralized command, their fleets were left fractured and directionless. The carefully woven threads of their military strategy unraveled within hours. General Kavesh's once formidable armada, spread thin across multiple sectors, found itself scrambling to regroup. Orders became muddled, commands sent to different. Squadrons crossed and conflicted. The human fleet, however, thrived in the chaos. Captain Sierra Marin watched the battlefield unfold from the Resolute. "They've lost coordination," she reported calmly. "Target isolated enemy groups. No mercy." The human vessels moved with calculated precision. Where the enemy faltered, humanity surged. Squadrons swept in, striking isolated ships before they could regroup. Superior technology and tactical flexibility gave the humans a deadly advantage. One Zelthari cruiser, attempting to escape through a dense asteroid field, was caught off guard by a human scout ship. With a single salvo, the cruiser's engines were disabled, and the vessel drifted powerless. "Boarding parties deployed," Sierra ordered. "Secure intel and capture what you can." Human Marines, trained for both space combat and rapid infiltration, descended on the enemy cruiser. Their swift and coordinated assault left little chance for resistance. As the ship's captain surrendered, data logs began streaming to the Resolute's tactical center. The intelligence gained was invaluable. Detailed battle plans, communication protocols, and fleet positions. It painted a grim picture for the Coalition's remaining forces. Without a coherent strategy or unified leadership, their defeat was accelerating. Elsewhere, panic spread within the Zelthari ranks. Fleets that had once moved with confidence now questioned every order. Morale plummeted as news of lost ships and failed counterattacks arrived in fragmented bursts. "Retreat!" some commanders cried. "Regroup at the outer colonies!" But retreat only meant giving humanity more time to strike again. Admiral Kalen Voss coordinated the fleet's next moves with ruthless efficiency. "Cut off their escape routes," he commanded. "No quarter." Human ships positioned themselves at key jump points and chokeholds, intercepting enemy vessels attempting to flee. Each confrontation ended with decisive human victory, further shattering the Coalition's ability to resist. On the ground in the Coalition's core worlds, citizens watched broadcasts of their fleet's collapse with growing despair. The once mighty Coalition was unraveling, its image of invincibility broken. Within the halls of Zelthari leadership, blame was cast fiercely. Accusations of betrayal and incompetence flew. The political fabric that had held the Coalition together began to fray. Yet even in defeat, the Coalition's leaders refused to surrender. They sent desperate messages to distant allies, calling for reinforcements and hoping to buy time. But humanity's response was relentless. "Prepare for final phase," Admiral Voss said quietly. "We end this before the galaxy suffers further." Captain, Sierra Marin's fleet pressed deeper into Coalition space, each battle tighter and more brutal than the last. Human crews fought not just for survival, but to send a clear message. Humanity was not to be underestimated or forgotten. Amid the chaos, a new sense of respect began to spread among the Coalition's surviving forces. Despite their defeat, Many could not deny the brilliance and discipline humanity had displayed. The stories they had dismissed as myths were now undeniable truth. As the enemy's collapse became inevitable, the galaxy watched closely. This conflict, once feared to drag on for years, might end in months or weeks. Back on Earth, civilians followed the news with cautious hope. The swift victories of the fleet had ignited a sense of pride and reassurance, but leaders remained vigilant. They knew the war was far from over. In the command center of the Resolute, Sira Marin stared out at the battlefield, her expression resolute. "They declared us the enemy," she whispered. "They thought they could crush us. Instead, we're the ones who survive." The enemy's collapse was not just a military triumph. It was a turning point. A signal to the galaxy that humanity had returned, stronger and more united than ever, and the echoes of their fleet would not be forgotten. The dust of battle had barely settled before the galaxy felt the full impact of humanity's resurgence. The once mighty Zelthari coalition was in disarray, their forces shattered and scattered. Yet, amidst the triumph and devastation, a new wave of uncertainty swept across star systems. Captain Sira Marin stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching holographic reports flood in from across the war zone. The fleet had achieved more than just military victories. It had exposed a deeper truth hidden beneath layers of myth and silence. "Commander Rin," Sira called, "compile all recovered data from captured ships and stations. I want every scrap of intel on the Coalition's operations, and more importantly, their origins." In the war room, Commander Rin's fingers flew over the interface, weaving together fragments of information, logs, encrypted messages, and ancient records. What they uncovered challenged everything known about the Coalition and the long-forgotten history of the galaxy. "The Zelthari didn't arise in isolation," Rin said, eyes wide as he presented the findings. "They were once a fragmented group exiled from a larger galactic alliance centuries ago. Their rise was fueled by a deep-seated desire to reclaim power lost in ancient wars." Sira nodded thoughtfully. "That explains their aggressive expansion and hostility toward humanity. They fear us because we embody a unity and strength they once rejected." Beyond the military implications, the revelations rippled through the galaxy's political and cultural spheres. The United Galactic Alliance, which had once dismissed humanity as a relic, now faced a new reality. The legends of old were true. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. Ambassador Leora Vesh of the Andari Union convened an emergency council meeting. "The Coalition's collapse is not merely a military event," she declared. "It is a warning. The galaxy must reconsider its alliances and prepare for the shifting balance of power." Meanwhile, human scientists and historians pored over recovered artifacts and data. Centuries-old mysteries about humanity's place in the cosmos began to unravel. The hidden truths of past conflicts, lost civilizations, and advanced technologies emerged from the shadows. On Earth, the revelation ignited a resurgence of curiosity and determination. Citizens rallied behind their fleet with renewed pride, understanding that humanity's survival was linked to the fate of countless other species. Admiral Kalen Voss addressed the fleet commanders. "Our victory was decisive, but the galaxy's future depends on what we do next. We must use this moment to build bridges, forge alliances, and ensure lasting peace." Captain Sira Marin agreed. "Our strength is not just in our weapons, but in our unity. The enemy's collapse is a chance to redefine who we are, not just as warriors, but as protectors of the galaxy." Yet even as humanity celebrated, shadows lingered. Intelligence reports hinted at hidden factions within the Coalition, remnants unwilling to surrender. A lingering question remained. Was this truly the end or the beginning of a more complex struggle? Deep in a concealed command bunker, a Zelthari survivor studied the ruins of their empire. "They have won the battle," he murmured, But the war for the galaxy's soul is far from over. The galaxy held its breath once more, not from fear, but from the weight of possibility. Humanity's return was no longer a whisper or a myth. It was a reality reshaping the stars, and with every step forward, the echoes of the past grew louder, guiding the way toward a future only time could reveal. The galaxy, still reeling from the collapse of the Zelthari coalition, found itself at a crossroads. With one formidable enemy vanquished, new challenges emerged, some unexpected, others lurking in the shadows. Captain Sierra Marin sat in the war room aboard the Resolute, studying incoming transmissions from various species. Many were cautious, some openly curious, but a few were wary and even hostile. The sudden rise of humanity had unsettled the balance of power, forcing old alliances to shift and new ones to form. Admiral Kalen Voss joined her, his expression grave. "We've won the battle, but peace will require more than strength. Diplomacy must be our next weapon." As the fleet moved deeper into formerly contested space, emissaries from neighboring star systems requested parley. Humans were no longer strangers or myths. They were key players in galactic affairs. Ambassador Leora Vesh had begun coordinating with Earth's representatives, arranging meetings designed to foster understanding and cooperation. Yet beneath these hopeful efforts, darker forces stirred. Reports arrived of a mysterious fleet operating on the fringes of known space. Ships that moved silently, struck swiftly, and vanished without a trace. No species claimed them, and their motives were unknown. Some whispered they were remnants of the Zelthari elite, refusing to accept defeat. Others feared something older and more dangerous. Captain Sierra convened a council of fleet commanders. "We must investigate these reports and prepare for any threat," she said. "Our enemies are not just the ones we see." Commander Rin presented reconnaissance data. "Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered. Stealth systems that defy detection and weapons capable of disabling entire squadrons with a single strike." Admiral Voss frowned. "If they're the remnants of the coalition, they've grown desperate. But if something else lies behind this, we could face a challenge unlike any before." Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts began to bear fruit. Several species previously neutral or hostile approached Earth with proposals for alliances. Trade agreements were drafted and cultural exchanges planned. For the first time in centuries, a true coalition of diverse civilizations began to take shape. One united not by fear, but by mutual respect and shared goals. On Earth, celebrations marked the growing unity. Yet scientists and strategists remained vigilant, aware that strength and readiness were as vital as diplomacy. In the corridors of the Resolute, Sierra reflected on the shifting tides. "We have shown the galaxy what humanity can do," she said, quietly. "Now we must prove what humanity can be." As new allies joined the fold, training exercises and joint patrols commenced. The fleet expanded, integrating technologies and tactics from its diverse members. This cooperation deepened bonds and forged a powerful front against emerging threats. But even as hope blossomed, shadows loomed. One night, deep within an uncharted sector, a hidden fleet made its move. Silent and swift, it struck a remote human outpost, disabling communications and leaving no survivors. The message was clear. Humanity's rise would not go unchallenged. Back on the Resolute, news of the attack sparked immediate action. "This is a declaration," Captain Sierra said. "We will find them, and we will answer." The galaxy held its breath once more. Humanity's return was no longer just a story of war and conquest. It was a tale of alliances forged and dangers faced together. In the vast expanse of space, the echoes of conflict blended with the promise of unity. The future was uncertain, but one truth remained. Humanity had awakened the stars, and now nothing would silence them again. The silent strike against the remote outpost was the spark that ignited a galaxy-wide search for the elusive fleet. Captain Sierra Marin and Admiral Kalen Voss coordinated with their new allies, pooling resources to uncover the identity of the hidden enemy. What they found shattered assumptions and forced a recalibration of everything they thought they knew. Reconnaissance drones patrolled the dark sectors, scanning for signs of the attackers. Weeks passed with no concrete leads, until a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. In the border system of Valtris, a scout ship detected faint energy signatures unlike anything cataloged before. The readings suggested advanced stealth technology paired with powerful weapon systems, confirming fears that this hidden fleet was more than a mere remnant of the Zelthari. Commander Rin analyzed the data in the Resolute's command center. "This technology predates even the earliest known galactic civilizations," he said, his voice tinged with awe. "It's far beyond anything the Coalition ever possessed." Sierra's brow furrowed. "Then who or what are we facing?" The answer came when a distress call broke through the static, a message from a distant scientific outpost near the galactic core. The transmission was fragmented but clear enough to convey a chilling warning. "They are not of the known galaxy." The scientist's voice crackled. "An ancient species, dormant for millennia, has awakened. They seek to reclaim their domain, and humanity's return has disturbed them." The revelation stunned the Alliance. The enemy was not merely a political faction or exiled warlords. It was something ancient, powerful, and determined. Admiral Voss convened an emergency council. "We are facing an existential threat," he said gravely. "Our previous conflicts pale in comparison. This hidden enemy seeks dominion, not negotiation." Efforts intensified to gather intelligence. Deep scans and remote probes ventured into uncharted space, uncovering relics and ruins that hinted at this ancient species' past dominance. Their civilization had once spanned galaxies, controlling technology that blurred the lines between science and something almost mystical. The human fleet, now bolstered by allied forces, prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Training focused on adaptability and rapid response, combining human ingenuity with the unique capabilities of their new partners. Captain Sierra Marin reflected on the weight of their situation. "We are the galaxy's new guardians," she told her crew. "If this ancient enemy wishes to reclaim the stars, they will find us ready." Meanwhile, whispers spread among the Coalition's surviving factions, rumors of secret negotiations and unexpected alliances. Some former enemies reached out to humanity, proposing cooperation against the greater threat. Ambassador Leora Vesh worked tirelessly to unify these fractured groups, emphasizing the necessity of solidarity. "Only together can we face what lies ahead," she urged at the Galactic Assembly. As fleets mobilized and defenses strengthened, the ancient enemy made its presence known. A massive vessel emerged from the shadows, a ship unlike any seen before, towering and ominous, its surface shimmering with unknown energy. The human fleet met it at the edge of a contested system. The battle was fierce, the enemy's weapons unlike anything in the Alliance's arsenal. Yet humanity's determination and adaptability shone through. Captain Sierra led a daring maneuver, exploiting a flaw in the enemy ship's defenses uncovered by their scientists. A concentrated strike disabled its power core, forcing the vessel into retreat. The victory was bittersweet. The ancient enemy had revealed its might, but it had also shown that it could be challenged. The galaxy now faced a new war, one not just for survival, but for the very future of all life among the stars. Humanity's legend continued to grow, not as conquerors, but as protectors standing against darkness long thought buried. The echoes of their fleet carried a message louder than any weapon. The stars belonged to those willing to fight for them. The galaxy held its breath. After months of searching, skirmishes, and uneasy alliances, the ancient enemy had declared its intent, dominion or destruction. Humanity and its allies stood at the precipice of a battle that would decide the fate of all known civilizations. Captain Sierra Marin paced the bridge of the Resolute, her gaze fixed on the swirling expanse beyond the fleet's perimeter. Ships, from dozens of species lined up in formation, their weapons primed and shields at full strength. This was more than a battle. It was a test of survival and unity. Admiral Kalen Voss addressed the assembled commanders. "This is the moment we have prepared for. The enemy will strike with all their might. We must respond with everything we have, and more." The plan was bold, a coordinated strike against the enemy's stronghold, deep within a sector laced with ancient ruins and hostile terrain. Intelligence indicated the enemy's power core was vulnerable there, and its destruction could cripple their war effort. As the fleet advanced, tension grew palpable. Messages from homeworlds urged courage and hope. Children whispered stories of heroes, and elders prayed for peace. Suddenly, the enemy fleet appeared on the horizon, a shadowy leviathan flanked by swarms of smaller vessels. Its energy pulsated with an eerie glow, a reminder of its otherworldly power. The battle erupted in a storm of light and sound. Human ships darted through enemy fire, coordinating strikes with precision honed by months of training. Allied vessels unleashed devastating volleys, their diverse technologies creating a symphony of destruction. Captain Sierra led a squadron tasked with breaching the enemy's defenses to reach the power core. The journey was perilous. Traps and counterattacks tested every skill and tactic, but determination pushed them forward. Inside the enemy stronghold, the landscape shifted. Alien structures twisted and glowing, resonating with ancient energy. The squadron fought through waves of guardians, each engagement more intense than the last. Finally, they reached the heart of the fortress, the power core itself. It pulsed like a living thing, the source of the enemy's might. "Prepare the charges," Sierra ordered. "This ends here." As the explosives were set, alarms blared. The enemy commanders unleashed their final defense, a colossal force intent on stopping the human squadron. Back outside, the main fleet engaged the enemy's remaining ships in a desperate battle for control. Ships fell on both sides, but the resolve of humanity and its allies never wavered. With a flash, the charges detonated. The power core exploded in a wave of energy, crippling the enemy's fleet and shaking the very fabric of space. Enemy ships faltered, their systems failing. The ancient force was broken. As silence settled, victory was declared, not through conquest, but through unity and resilience. Captain Sierra Marin stood among her crew, exhaustion and relief mingling in their eyes. "We fought not just for survival," she said quietly. "We fought for the future, a galaxy where all can live without fear." The Galactic Assembly convened soon after, forging treaties to ensure peace and cooperation. Humanity's fleet, once a whispered myth, had become a symbol of hope and strength. The ancient enemy was defeated, but its echoes remained a reminder. Vigilance and unity were the keys to lasting peace. And as humanity's ships sailed among the stars, their echoes promised one thing above all: a future shaped by those brave enough to stand together. The stars were theirs once more,